Be careful what I wish you for, because I can assure you that wishes come true. And today episode, we're going to talk about something you don't see every day. Know how the wishes coming true. You're going to find out this in an episode. Today we're going to talk about military parades and why do military parades and armed forces demonstrate actual economic, industrial and military power. I recall watching military parades on a TV as a youngster and knowing that I wasn't the only kid who wanted to be a soldier. Now, revelation. Decade later, I wasn't just a soldier, but combatant in one of the bloodiest conflicts of the 20th century. As a result, I say to you, be careful what you want, for since dreams do come true. And now let's look why Western society dislikes large military parades, but some do, and what makes them so unique. Because I participated in multiple military parades, allow me to approach this topic more professionally and objectively. Countries such as Russia or ex-USSR, China, and at one point Warsaw Pact countries such as North Korea and held military parades not just to demonstrate the force of the weaponry, but also to provide civilians with peace of mind. I know it's difficult for many people on the West to understand why military parades usually are in communist countries, ex-communist countries, or whether some evil regime rules. Very simple. They wanted to demonstrate, and I'm telling this from my personal experience, that money spent, it's been spent into the military. And don't forget, one thing, 85% of military, consists from average Joe, from guys, girls who are 18 years old and go in the military. They're not professionals, but those countries, even today, parading these things because give the pride to the people, to the country, to the citizens, demonstrate where the money has been spent, and thirdly, most importantly, it was used as an open source of intelligence for the intelligence agencies. Let's go dig deep into this. Citizens could readily see where their money was going by exhibiting operating firearms, or so we were informed. At least that I saw in communist Yugoslavia. Second, exhibiting armament and weapons openly communicate to foreign and domestic adversaries what armaments were available. And thirdly, after the military parade, me personally, when I was some of them, I was approached by journalists who asked me a lot of questions about the RT-20 domestic-made weapon, or better known as a hand cannon 20mm. My boss in intelligence advised me to give all facts since he was from a three-letter agency, I'll not say which one, and he was claiming to be journalist, which clearly he wasn't. But he was capturing a lot of details, so the military parade could be used as an open source of intelligence. Last but not least, when a military parade takes place, two things are important. First, it's something that's called citizen pride, and second, the military parade symbolizes the country standing, economical, social, and other aspects. And I'm not wrong, because later on, when I was in military services, I learned one thing. When you see how somebody else's military looks like, doesn't matter how big or small they are, you knew it, how strong they are economically, industrially, financially, and most importantly, when you see the soldiers parading, you're looking for the many elements, which I can explain in some other video, and those elements representing true picture of the some country. A military parade pits East and West against each other. When we talk military parades nowadays, most people think about Russia, China, North Korea. Individuals who appreciate military parades as well as those who do not share their excitement for them share their association. But first, let's journey back in time through history where the kings have projected their power by deeds of strength and awe since the dawn of human civilization. So let's go start with the old Mesopotamia. For those who don't know where Mesopotamia is, I'll put in comment section below. Mesopotamia friezes depicting heroic conquests were used by ancient Mesopotamian emperors to decorate their palaces and citadels. These pictures typically depicted a massive potentate striding in front of his army and crushing on his opponent's skulls. As a result, monarch stature and political power were elevated. Now, let's go faster to the history, to Rome's antiquity. We know the Roman Empire, who consisted, right? The honorable triumphs of antiquity were one of the most important rights of the Roman Empire. Generals and emperors who had won battles would march from the field of Mars into Rome, massive temple of Jupiter, through temples and thousands of adoring peasants or citizens. Everyone wore laurel wreaths and sacrificed bulls. Conquered nations looted possessions, were conveyed in chariots, and abducted barbarians were dragged along in chains. You know, they bring them in like, look at this is our spoils of the war. Some slaves were encouraged to murmur, memento mori, which is, but Stoics, remember you are mortal. Today, captors, as a part of drama meant to connect the Roman public to its leaders. For many years, these Roman rituals left an indelible mark on Europe. Let's go move to Europe now. After the Roman Empire, every Easter, battalions of soldiers, dignitaries, and clergy would march past the city's renowned Basilica of San Marco and toward the ports to watch the Duke of Venice board the ship, sail into the harbor, and cast gold ring into the waves. Venice was the center of the powerful Mediterranean Empire at the time. This highly public act symbolized Venice's divine union with the Adriatic Sea, which served as a foundation for the Doge or Duke's wealth and power. As empires disintegrated into nation-states and adopted more open tone of hostility, this exhibition of might lost their mystique. If we go a little bit further in history, the Prussian army elite unit, noted for its rigid lockstep discipline, modernized the military parade. Armies from through the world copied salutes and drills employed by the German kingdom. Some of the strict constraints enforced on troops marching into Beijing may be traced, you can trace back, literally back to the Prussian tactical directions, such as the precise distance between the infantryman's nose of that his colleagues on the other side. Another legacy handed to the wall by the Prussians was the infamous goose step, which was first performed by pompous officers in the 17th century. The sheer scale of iconography, now massive Nazi rallies, were staged across entire Zeppelin fields, ostensibly representing the physical manifestation of the party's ideology, made it even more potent. Some similar patterns arose for other authoritarian countries, such as Russia, which paraded phalanx of the tanks and advanced missiles past the Kremlin every May. The intricately playing competition known as the mask games, which involves many dancers and volunteers, are a distinctive communist heritage. And I do remember as a kid in 70s, Marshal Tito was still alive. We were watching all this, come his birthday, and we are all united brothers and sisters, and first it's all this folklore and dancing and more colors and more happiness, and everybody loves everybody, that thing. And then comes the military parade, second day. So it was everything was being planned. These events continue to take place on regular basis today in North Korea, where the tens of thousands of people undergo months of training and mechanically perform strange dancing just to praise leadership of the isolated rogue regime. Nowadays, victory marches are performed by the majority of nations, including many democracies, to demonstrate their military superiority and to honor prior sacrifices. Now, we've been a little bit in history. Let's go now come to the present, from the past to the present, to the current military parades. In actuality, military parades have become identified in Russia due to their loyalty to the military and the weapons to represent their nation's pride. And when we talk about parades, we always think the Russians and the North Koreans, but As I say, let's go move from the past to the present. Every year on a May 9th, it's a country commemorates victory over Fascism Day, and the main events of the Moscow Red Square are capped off with traditional military parade. Well, they have reduced it now, the last couple of years, less and less and less due to war in Ukraine, but they still have that on a 9th of May every year. Russia proudly shows military highest levels, as well as a variety of armaments ranging from artillery to aeroplanes. Such a manifestation had been widespread during the Cold War, and we know why. And it's thought that the Russian state leadership is doing so to draw attention to its trump cards among its rivals. The United States of America, which is by many measures the world's most powerful nation and whose weaponry equivalent to or even greater of those of Russia are held in Moscow practically annually, does not appear to prioritize self-promotion. To commemorate Independence Day in 2019, former US President Donald Trump ordered armed forces from the Pentagon to the streets of Washington. The rest of the world expected to see incredible display of American military capability, accompanied by variety of military acrobatics. But did this happen? Despite the fact that it's widely known how America feel about military parades, optimists predicted that they will be happy as well, particularly if they are conducted by one of the most disliked American presidents in recent history, who wanted to organize a parade of military forces and the entirety of the war potential in 2018, of course prompting considerable public outrage. So 2019 Independence Day parade succeeded and was the first large military celebration held in Washington since 1991, when the Gulf War victory celebrated. From honoring historic wars to Lincoln's death to presidential inauguration, there is something for everyone. Prior to 1991, there were only 6 other important military parades in American history. First one was the year 1865, which marked the first formally documented military parade in the United States. In an effort to boost morale in the green country, President Andrew Johnson's successor organized a procession identical to this one month after President Abraham Lincoln was slain. Johnson declared the Civil War to be over and requested a grand military review to be honor the American forces that saw the conflict through the successful conclusion. The second Great Parade was held a year after the end of the First World War in 1919. In New York, a parade of over 25,000 soldiers carrying various weapons and military equipment took place. A week later, the same thing happened on Washington's streets. We move to the history. In 1942, New York hosted unprecedented military parade. On that occasion, civilians and government representatives marched for 11 hours in support of American soldiers who had volunteered to fight in World War II. And of course, when fascism was finally defeated, 4 years later, a parade of 300,000 paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne Brigade marched through New York in front of roughly 4 million spectators, 4 million people, to commemorate the end of fascism. Before aforementioned 1991, 2 other military parades were staged in the United States, both of which marked the president's inauguration. Soldiers marched through the streets of Washington during both John F. Kennedy and Eisenhower inauguration in 1961. So only twice in modern times, before the 1991. So America has a few military parades when you compare it to North Korea or the Russia, who had every year on particular date military parade. Can I ask you a question? Why is that the United States of America, whose military power is side by side with Russia, does not organize regularly military parades, while the babies prefer to boast about their military resources? The Russian procession conveys a Kremlin message, no question asked. That goes for almost 100 years. Military parades are public image associated with the Moscow and the Russian military force, and the practice of organizing them is all as organized military units. The parade on the Red Square with its display of sophisticated heavy weaponry is symbolic to Cold War era, when it was opportunity to introduce new things from the Soviet military industry. That's what they did, they were adding new weapons every year. It was typical for new equipment to be closely guarded until the parade, which was an opportunity to show off some of the Soviet army new assets to the world. And of course, it was estimated in the political part, so-called criminologists, Kremlinologists, not criminologists, Kremlinologists, who were on the stage for the guest of honor in connection to the current leader and who was out of favor. The Kremlin sent a strong statement with military parades in Moscow. However, the Cold War value system and images were restored in numerous parades in recent years, which was why the March on Red Square is regarded as a key occasion to observe the top of the state wards according to tradition. Modern Russia holds parades in the old way with heavy equipment echelons, but also revived history tanks and self-propelled guns from Second World War. As well, people dressed in Eastern Front uniforms. While Moscow hosts the large parade, Russia often holds parades in smaller cities on Victory Day and other events. It's typical for the Russians to do so. Chinese, on the other hand, parades seem similar to Russian parades. However, you must understand that their model was inspired by communism, which is why Chinese like to display echelons of tanks and ballistic missiles. However, China pushing this agenda how they are becoming superpower. Now, Americans are opposed to power consolidation. In the United States, parades are most focused on people, particularly civilians, who frequently participate in activities alongside military formations. Military equipment is shown on a smaller scale, but it depicts a different cultural pattern of the military involvement in society. So Americans, like a Western society, they don't do just parades every year. They're doing this with the people who were serving in military, paying respect to the people who they were taking part in military operations. That's what it is. Although the United States does not stage large parades, it's not far behind Russia in terms of organizing other military celebration activities. As I mentioned, hundreds of such military displays take in place in the United States each year, but they are local events as opposed to Russia's method of central state and centralized display of power in Moscow, followed by that, of course, direct TV transmission in large towns. And as I say, as a kid, I remember in communism, that was the part. You needed to have this display of the power, this display of the weapons, and people need to understand that the government, it's under the people, and the army is here to protect everybody. And to be honest with you, many people actually like these things. Many people really like it, enjoy these military parades, because it was being shown one day, as I did in my case. When you're 18 years old, you need to go serve the army, right? And parents want to see that you're serving something great, you know what I mean? And of course, before you go in the army, in schools, they're teaching all these struggles, Second World War, and list goes on. But military parades is not just to show the weapons. Military parades are not only to show how somebody is strong, but it's actually sending a message. Look at how great army we have and weapons. Our system, it's on place. We are strong economically, industrially, monetary, financially. That's the main key message of every military parade you saw in past and you're still seeing today. That's the message they want to display. Is it true or not? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching Life the Battlefield. Feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment, and let me know what do you think about military parades happening currently now across the globe. North Korea, China, good or not? Thank you.